I hope you're doing well today. We are going to be jumping ahead. We're going to be looking in Judges today. Our hymn is a hymn called Ready.
Ready to suffer grief or pain, ready to stand the test, ready to stay at home and send others if he sees best. Ready to go, ready to stay, ready my place to fill, ready for service, lowly or great, ready to do his will.
A wonderful hymn and a wonderful sentiment. Ready to go, ready to bear, ready to watch and pray, ready to stand aside and give till he shall clear the way. Verse 3, ready to speak, ready to think, ready with heart and brain, ready to stand where he sees fit, ready to bear the strain. Ready to speak, ready to warn, ready o'er souls to yearn, ready in life, ready in death, ready for his return. That fourth verse there, ready in life, ready in death, reminds me of Paul's, I can do all things through Christ. I can be abased, I can abound. He's speaking specifically about living and dying. Ready for his return, ready to go, ready to stay, ready my place to fill, ready for service, lowly or great, ready to do his will. As I said, we're going to be looking in Judges. Joshua, the end of the book of Joshua, where we left off yesterday, we looked at the Gibeonites. Well, then the following chapter after that is when the sun stands still. Some of the other notable chapters in Joshua are Caleb inherits Hebron. Another one would be, of course, at the end of Joshua's life, choose for yourself this day whom you will serve. But the rest of Joshua is predominantly with the land allotments, as you have, the different tribes and different land. Some of them drove out the inhabitants like they were supposed to. Some of them did not. They became thorns in their side. Some, like Daniel, didn't obey at all, or like Dan, didn't obey at all. And so all these things are happening. And even at the end, when Joshua says, choose for yourself this day, and they say, oh, we choose the Lord. And Joshua says, why don't you put the idols away then? And that's what they needed to do. And so then Joshua dies, and then you get into Judges. And of course, we know what Judges is about. It's a vicious cycle of forsaking the Lord, being oppressed because they've forsaken the Lord, reaping what they'd sown, and then they cry out to the Lord, and the Lord delivers them. And you have that happening more than once. Needless to say, we're not looking at all the Judges, but we are jumping ahead to Judges chapter 4, verse 1. When Ehud was dead, the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, just like I just said. So the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan. The commander of the army was Sisera. The children of Israel cried out to the Lord, for Jabin had 900 chariots of iron, and he was harshly oppressing them. Now Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was judging Israel at that time, and she would sit under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel and the mountains of Ephraim, and the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. I was just thinking about how Deborah judged in a different way. Other places it talks about the judges riding on donkeys and kind of like going in a circuit around Israel. Well, Deborah didn't do that. See, the other judges would go out to the people. Deborah stayed where she was, and the people came to her. And which one was right? I don't think that's how this works. I think they were both right. I was just thinking about preachers and how sometimes people think that every preacher should be exactly the same. Now, certainly the word needs to be preached. That's that's an issue when the word stops being preached. But different people have different styles, different ways. They have different ways about them, and that's okay. Different people have different personalities. Different people have different talents. 5 talent, 2 talent, 1 talent. the Lord uses them. Frankly, Paul says even those who are just doing it for the money, he said, I'm just happy they're teaching the truth. That's the important thing, and that's the important thing. They're teaching the truth. And so I just think it's interesting. Here Deborah is, and Deborah stays put while others rode on donkeys and things like that. And I was just thinking about that with our verse. And it's, should I go or should I stay? Well, there's a time to go, and there's a time to stay. You fulfill your role. You fulfill your place. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. So, I consider it, here as Deborah is under the tree. As the account goes on, she calls for Barak and tells Barak, all right, it's time. Take with you 10,000 men and go against Sisera. Barak says, if you will go with me, then I will go, but if you will not go with me, I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, there will be no glory for you in the journey you are taking, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. I would suggest verse 9 is limited. That business about nevertheless, there will be no glory for you in the journey you're taking. Because Barak is in Hebrews 11 in the heroes of faith. And so I think what she's simply saying is that she's saying what she says in the last part, that Sisera is going to be handled by a woman. I think that's what she means. That's what she's talking about when she says, nevertheless, there will be no glory for you in the journey you're taking. She's saying that you will not defeat Sisera yourself. You'll not kill Sisera yourself. You won't get that opportunity. You won't get that glory. Barak, to make another point, sometimes people are like David, and they say, I'll do it alone. I'll go up against the Philistine alone. Other times people are like Barak, and they say, if you'll go with me, I'll go. Which one was right? There's a time to stand alone, and there's a time to say, I need help. I need a partner. The Lord sent the disciples out 2 by 2. Anyway, you might think about that idea. But here, to look at it, the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And I'm sure Barak thought that was Deborah, and that is not Deborah. That is Jael. And Jael is going to end up dispatching Sisera with a tent peg, if you're familiar with the account. And then as Barak had been following him, and then when Jael, let's look at the account. Let's see. As Sisera flees, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said to him, come, and I will show you the man whom you seek. And when he went into her tent, there lay Sisera dead with a peg in his temple, just as Deborah had prophesied, in the hand of a woman. The wonderful thing is that the Lord uses men and women in the kingdom. Sometimes folks think, and it's both those inside the church and those outside the church. Those inside the church, sometimes they think that the church is just the men do this. But then sometimes those outside the church, they sort of disparage the church, thinking that that's how it either is or should be, or that's our view of things. Like, no, the Lord uses men and women. The Lord uses men and women in different ways, but they work together, just like in a marriage. And so here, it's not even going to be through the hand of Jael's husband. It's going to be through Jael that Sisera is dispatched. God works in different ways. You know, when you look throughout Judges, just for example, you see God working in different ways. He uses Gideon from the weakest tribe, right? The smallest clan, small tribe, and he's hiding. And so he uses those who may be hiding, like Gideon, who may be not as courageous, right? Gideon wasn't courageous. That's not why the Lord took him. The Lord takes the weak and he encourages them and makes them courageous. The Lord takes those who are strong, like Samson, and then when Samson loses all his strength, then who does Samson learn to lean on? The Lord. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Then you have Samuel, or you have Jephthah, or you have all these characters in Judges, and what you see is the Lord's deliverance. The Lord delivers, but the Lord has his own way of doing things. And then eventually you come all through the Old Testament up to the New Testament, and then you have Jesus, the unexpected. Right? Recently in the adult class, we were looking at the triumphal entry as he comes riding into Jerusalem on a colt the foal of a donkey. And they all thought, for one thing, they were looking for a king, but they weren't looking for that kind of a king, were they? They, behold your king. And they wanted him to deal with Rome. The Lord had his sights set a little bit higher. But that's what they were looking for. The Lord works in, the Lord's ways are higher than man's ways. They always have been, they always will be. You might think about it. And here, as you think about this account, and so we just say, we're just ready. Whatever it is that is in store for us, we are ready to go. We are ready to bear. Ready. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. If the Lord is with us, that is enough. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our Daily Praise.